Dark. There we go. All right. Last video I did, I said I wasn't going to do any more videos, but in my feeds this morning, I had a notification from YouTube that I had 50 subscribers. And so, yay, me, right? That was unexpected. So I thought I would go ahead and do a video for all of you who stuck with me and thought there was some value in this. I've gotten a lot of support, people thanking me for what I'm trying to do here. I don't know that it does any good for me or really anyone else. It's hard to be here every day, but for 50 subs, that's a good excuse to do another one. So another reason I'm here is because I woke up this morning and I realized that the human world is done. The human world is done. And it felt really weird to think that. I'd had a dream. It was a late morning dream, when you're kind of half in and half out of sleep. And I had a dream that some bug had bit me. And that actually happens a lot. We get mosquitoes in our house. We have this lush property and they love it here. So they get in the house and sometimes they bite me and I scratch. So I thought, darn it. And at least in my mind's eye, if not actually my real eye, I woke up and I looked on the wall and there was a bug. And I thought, that's the bug that bit me. But it looked like a hybrid between, I'm telling you this story, hybrid between like a daddy long legs spider, which we have in the house. They get in here and I'm hoping they eat the mosquitoes and the flies. I'm not sure how much good they actually do. But they're animals. They're kind of welcome to some point. And a mosquito. And so it was basically a really big mosquito with, or a daddy long legs with not so many legs. So I was staring at this thing on the wall and I was thinking, I should swat that. That thing bit me and it has no right to do that. And then I sort of really woke up and of course there was no bug on the wall. But my very next thought was interesting. And my very next thought, pretty much just like one thought running into the other, was that we're done. We're done. And this has really been on my mind. It's been, human civilization, we're done. The human world is done. Human habitat is probably done. I think that maybe talking in that last 3 videos about human extinction and, what it is and why are people having this conversation and how would we go extinct, I think it kind of primed the pump for me to come to terms with it. Now, I don't think humans go extinct this time around. We've been here before. We have seen our world more or less kicked out from under us and us left dangling, but we didn't go extinct. So let's just pretend that's not going to happen. But there could be an enormous loss of human life coming up. And so when I woke up this morning having a waking dream about this bug that had bit me, and it wasn't a real bug and it wasn't even a real bite, I then slipped into the next thought, which was, yeah, we're done. And, it's like a door opened. And the next thought that came in when I was no longer thinking about the bug, but when I was in that dream state, the next thought that came in unbidden was, yeah, we're done. And I think we are. I think we're done. Now this is very dark territory to be in. And I kind of don't want to take you there. I don't want to take anybody there. I mean, what am I supposed to do, right? What if I was an astronomer and I saw an asteroid coming right for Earth, and it's like that movie, right? Don't Look Up. Well worth a watch. But let's just say I'm an astronomer. And I see this asteroid coming. I'm looking through a telescope and I do the math and I do the calculations and the orbital mechanics and, intersecting with Earth orbit and then finally intersecting with Earth. It's like, wow, okay, that's not going to be good. So, I'm at that moment. And I've even, speaking of that movie, when I was watching that movie, Don't Look Up, there's a point where the actor playing the older professor what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio. He has a moment where he's doing this math, and the students, they're up late and they've been eating pizza and drinking whatever, and because they've just discovered this new comet asteroid thing, and so they're calculating the orbital mechanics and the distance to Earth. You calculate the distance to Earth, so you kind of can tell people, well, there's an asteroid coming, a comet coming, and it's going to fly this close to Earth. It's going to be really visible on this day in this part of the sky. You do all these calculations. So they were doing that calculation. How close is it going to be? What part of the sky is it going to be in? How long will it be in the sky? And they're also calculating the distance to the Earth, because that's nice to know. And as they're calculating the distance to the Earth, they get down to a number, which is zero. Zero. The distance is zero. And he's like looking at it. And I know what's going through his mind. He's a scientist. I'm a scientist. He knows exactly what that means. He knows exactly what that means. Zero, zero, zero. And you can't get past it. And so he says, okay, let's go back and try the math again. And they do the math, and he comes to the same thing, zero. The distance is zero between Earth and the asteroid. The distance is zero. And all this happens in the first 5-10 minutes of the movie. I mean, it has to, because the rest of the movie is we're going to die. Seriously. All life on Earth probably is going to be wiped out. That's the rest of the movie. Hours and hours, it just goes on and days they have to deal with this. And there's just that moment, though, where I am, he's sort of breaking the fourth wall for me. And I feel like I'm standing at the whiteboard with him. And we both know what that means, because I know what that means. Zero. And I kind of feel like we're looking at each other, and I'm looking at him. I'm looking at zero. And I'm watching a movie. And Leonardo DiCaprio is an actor. But I am able to put myself in that position because I understand what he's doing. I understand what it means. Very few people who watching that movie understood what that meant at that time, but I knew exactly what it meant. Zero. And what are you supposed to do with that? Well, he's kind of a coward, and he sends the young people home. And I can't really deal with this tonight. I'm getting kind of tired. It's very exciting. Good job, everyone. We'll reconvene, but it's zero. He just doesn't want to deal with it. He doesn't want to talk to the young people, for fuck's sake. Why would he want to talk to the young people and say zero? The distance between the comet and the Earth on this date at this time is zero. Why would he want to? Why? I mean, it's the truth. Maybe he needs a bigger computer, or he needs more computer time, or he needs, more accurate measurements. Maybe it's not quite zero. Maybe it's a fraction of off from zero, but, turns out to be zero. What do you do? So I woke up this morning, and after a weird dream about a non-existent insect and a non-existent bite, and I was half asleep, and the next thought through the door was zero. We're done. What am I supposed to do with that? Because we are. It doesn't matter what's the part per million of CO2 in the atmosphere. It really doesn't. It's going to go up. So there you go. It's at 427 right now, parts per million. And that's about the highest it's been, I don't know, 10 million years, something like that, is one guess. And then, but it has to go up, because we're not going to stop burning fossil fuels. Okay. So 427 is meaningless. We're going to go to 500 parts per million. Then we're probably going to go to, 1,000. And that's it. It just goes up. And so, okay, check that box. We don't stop this from happening. And various papers are coming out now, fast and furious, from people who are basically, me and Leonardo DiCaprio standing at a whiteboard and trying to calculate, this, and they're coming up with a number that's the equivalent of zero. Okay. And for global heating, the equivalent of zero, meaning we're wiped out, is 4 degrees C above pre-industrial baseline, 5 degrees, 8 degrees C above pre-industrial baseline, 10 degrees C above pre-industrial baseline. And these are all figures for heat that haven't been seen since the last large-scale extinction event, like the PETM or the Great Dying, or some of those others where, it was heat, and it was CO2, and it was everything we're doing now, all this brouhaha. We humans haven't been there, but other life of this planet has been there. But it's not about a number. You have to understand that. It's about reality. It's doing the column of numbers and coming up with a zero. You're done. That's what zero means, is you're done. It's not about, well, how big is the explosion going to be, and how many continents are going to be vaporized. That's not what you care about. You just care about you're done. That's what the number means, is you're done. Okay, that's what the number is supposed to mean. You're done. And now what are you going to do with the notion that you're done? What are you supposed to do with that shit? You're done. I'm here to tell you you're done. And if you want to know what that looks like, I mean, being done, your civilization being done looks like something. We are in the early days of all this being blown to rat shit. I don't know how else to tell you that. It's not a comet. It's not an asteroid. It's not going to be a, planet killer. I mean, it could be. Probably not. We're probably not going to kill the planet. And we're not here to save the planet. I'm talking about human civilization. And you can see it happening. I've said before, at least in conversation with my wife, I've said it. Maybe I don't know if I've ever said this on this channel, but the lower third of Florida, Florida is a highly populated state, and a lot of those people live in the lower third. That's the metropolitan area, right? Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Sarasota, right? And the northern part of Florida is a bit more rural. So the lower third of Florida, which is where all the good things are, as far as Floridians are concerned, it's gone. It's done right now. It's done. I'm telling you, it's done. And it's just a matter of time. It's just time now. They're done. They're done. They're already done. They're done. Oh my God, they're so done. They are done. D-U-N, done. Cannot be saved. They're finished. Their Titanic has hit the iceberg. They're going down now. There's no saving these people in southern Florida. Now, maybe we can save them someplace else. Where? I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what they do. They got to get out. Are they going to get out? No. And Ron DeSantis, timing is rather suspicious, has made it impossible for the legislature, the Florida governance, to even talk about what he calls climate change. He signed legislation that says that the Florida government and none of its institutions, including, I suppose, education, can talk about climate change. Not that this climate change is going to kill them. It's going to be global heating. They're going to be murdered. They're going to die. How many millions of people is that? I don't even know. How many millions of people live in Florida? How many of them live in the the lower third of Florida? I don't even know. 5 million? 10 million? They're done. They're just done. And this week, extending into next week, there's a heat wave coming for the Plains states, the upper Midwest, New England, and most of the East Coast. There's a heat wave coming that the meteorologists, who are a bunch of punks, okay? The meteorologists will just lie to you. They will, about global heating and climate change. They'll just fucking lie to you. And yet they're saying, this is historic. We have never seen this before. Now, okay, so maybe they make money, get more airtime if they say things like that. But they also aggravate their, corporate advertisers saying things like that. But they said it because it's true, because of physics. I mean, you can't say it's not true. You can't just ignore it. You just can't be Ron DeSantis to sign legislation that says there's no such thing as global heating. Oh, I mean, you could do that. Of course, you could actually do that. But that doesn't make it stop. And they just had a week of floods that destroyed people. They were interviewing a guy whose house has just been destroyed by floodwater. And his complaint was that he had just barely finished repairing flood damage to his house that had been visited upon him last year at the same time, a year ago. Took a year. Of course, it takes a year. You have to replace all the interior drywall, probably fix all the electric that got flooded, and if you have appliances, they got flooded and they have to be replaced and all this other kind of stuff. So yeah, it took him a year, and probably he had insurance and maybe he had some FEMA money. Who knows? Maybe took out a loan, a mortgage, second mortgage on his house, whatever. So he just finished it, and he was really angry. He was really angry and frightened. And they were saying, and this is where you have to start paying attention to details. They were saying, oh yeah, the flooding in southern Florida, this is a 1,000-year flood. This is a 1,000-year flood. That's a statistical statement about how likely that kind of flooding ought to be. Meaning we've had flooding in different parts of Florida. We've had rainfall events in different parts of Florida. And this combination of flooding and rainfall really shouldn't happen any more often than once every 1,000 years. Well, it just happened. Oh, and by the way, it happened last year at the same time. Two. And they'll 2,000-year floods back to back. And they'll just blithely say these things. They'll just throw these numbers out at you. And you'll say, oh, well, that's pretty bad. They got a 1,000-year flood. Yeah. And then someone else will say, yeah, they had a 1,000-year flood last year too. Oh, that's 2,000-year floods in 2 years. That's wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that's impossible. That's not supposed to happen. And these people are done. That guy in the interview, he was saying, he basically said he's done. And probably he's in debt. He's going to have to just, mail the keys to the mortgage holder and walk away from it, right? He's done. And then he said, well, what, then they did a cut and they come back to him. He said, well, what are you going to do? You have to tough it out. So he was weighing his options, even while he was standing, calf deep in water. And his house has got 6 inches of water in it. He's weighing his options, right? Weighing his options. And that's what everybody's doing right now. Now, the truth is, those people are fucking done. They're done. 2 extremely rare flood events, back to back, year on year, back to back. Probably there's houses that have been abandoned and remain abandoned today that flooded out a year ago today. Still abandoned. Someone's still trying to raise money. Someone's still trying to get out from under debt, whatever. And their house is still flooded again. So it's just as well they didn't fix it, because this guy who fixed it, he's staring at the abyss financially. He's staring at the abyss. And when I was watching the flooding in South Florida, and these hotels and office buildings and cars flooded up to the hood, I was thinking to myself, oh, this is a $1 billion event. There's $1 billion worth of damage. Look at these hotels. The lobbies are full of water and the carpets are gone and everything. They're going to have to replace all this drywall. It's going to be horrendous. And then when I realized, oh yeah, this is happening in Miami, Sarasota, Fort Lauderdale, and every point in between, the entire southern tip of Florida, the lower third of Florida, then I thought, oh no, this isn't a $1 billion event. This is a $10 billion event. $10 billion event. Who's going to pay for that? These people are finished. That guy is not going to rebuild his home. He can't. He's financially broken. He just barely got out from it the last time. And now it happens again, and he's just done. He's done. He's thinking to himself, I'm done. And I'm telling him, yeah, you're done, pal. You're done. I'm really sorry. You got to get out of here. Where am I going to go? I don't know. You're a climate refugee now. He's a fucking climate refugee. Right here in America. He's done. He's done. He is fucking done. He's got to get out of there. He cannot survive there. Cannot survive. Just down the street. Lady around the corner. Nice, beautiful house. Beautiful 2-story house. One of the nicer houses in the neighborhood. Something happened, and her basement filled up with water. The basement, just the basement. PG&E came, turned off the natural gas to the house. Somebody else came, turn off the power to the house. It's only the basement that's flooded, but it's been rendered uninhabitable. She can't live in her own house. She's going to have to get a hotel room. And it was just her basement with fresh water. They could have pumped it out. Her house is now uninhabitable. One house wasn't the neighborhood flooding. She broke a pipe in her basement, and it filled up her basement, caused water damage, and they just shut her off. They said, "Oh yeah, too bad. Turning off your gas, turning off your electricity, turning off this other shit. You're done." What is she going to do? I saw a truck pulled up in front of her house. One of these rescue companies where they come in and they save you from flood damage as quickly as they can, right? They try and pump the water out, dry you out with fans, do all this special stuff, inspect the electrical, inspect the gas, inspect the appliances that are down there, haul the appliances out for you so you can get new ones, run air through their rescue, disaster response companies that responds generally to household flooding, overflowing toilet or whatever, just destroys your house, right? And so she's kind of done. And that wasn't even, that's just one house. And that was just a pipe. And what about these people in Southern Florida? Their cars are destroyed. They have to get all new cars. Now they have insurance and they've got this. And some of them have insurance. Maybe a lot of them don't have that kind of insurance. The kind of insurance is expensive. Maybe they just have PL and PD and that's it. Oh, your car got full of water and it's now a wreck. Okay, well, take it to the used car lot and they'll give you $50 for it. And then they'll clean it up and they'll sell it. And this is actually a problem with used cars. You're not going to want to buy a used car anywhere in Florida or probably even Georgia or any of the southern states for the next 24 months, because half of them are going to be flood damaged. They're going to stink. They're not going to run well. They're going to have problems because they were filled up with water for a week. And they got towed away and someone bought them for $50 from the tow yard and they spent $1,200 fixing it and they put it on the used car lot. And over the next 24 months, all those cars are going to be sold. And they're junk. They were flooded. Don't buy a used car anywhere in Florida or really anywhere in the Southeast U.S. for the next 24 months because they're all coming out of Southern Florida and they're all wrecks, refurbished wrecks. They'll never work. You'll have nothing but problems with them and they'll always stink. They'll always smell like mold. Why does this car smell like a sewer? Why does this car smell like mold? Well, because it came from Southern Florida, 2024. Those people got wiped out. These people are done. And the heat is now going to come for the eastern third, at least, of the United States of America. And that heat, they're saying it's 1,000-year event. Oh, really? I've heard that before. Yeah, it's 1,000-year event. We haven't had heat like this in 1,000 years. Well, they're saying 30 years. Yeah, we'll find out. I'll tell you right now, a heat event on this scale in this country, covering all these states all at once, they have not had before. Maybe a particular location will break a record and they'll break a record, and that's a 30-year record, and that's a 30-year record. So yeah, we haven't had temperatures like this in these little pinpoints for 30 years. But this event covering the eastern third of the United States of America has probably never happened before. Period. Never. Probably never happened before. Global heating is the thing. It's right there in the name. And they're having massive heat waves in Greece. Tourists are dying. They're wandering off. They had to close the Acropolis in Greece for the heat. And then the tourists who can't go to the Acropolis in Greece because of the heat, they go wandering off to see something else. And they die because they're stupid. They closed the Acropolis so you wouldn't go up there and die. Instead, you're going to wander around Greece and you're going to die some other way. What is wrong with you people? This is done. You can't go to Greece as a tourist. Don't go anywhere as a tourist. We've got fires in Southern California. We've got fires in the North Bay. We've got fires in Northern California. Stay home. Turn on the air conditioning. Try to survive. Try to do something to save yourself. The heat in India is so bad, they don't even report it anymore. It got up to something like, 120 degrees, and that made the news. But right now it's running at like 110, 116, and that doesn't make the news. What are those people going to do? They're going to die. And the ones that don't die, they leave. And what do you call someone who gets driven out of their country? A refugee. They're refugees. They'll never go back. And those people in Southern Florida, when they leave Florida, they'll never go back. And maybe the bank will get their house, and maybe the bank will try to fix it up, and the bank will try to sell it to some greater fool. And eventually, some Ron DeSantis, the pinhead, will sign another piece of legislation saying you can keep your home, but you can't sell it. We're going to redline these places and no more flooding for anybody after you. Because you can't carry on like that. You can't continue saying, oh, well, it's no big deal. These people got unlucky. Yeah, 2 years in a row, 1,000-year floods, 2 years in a row. That's unlucky, right? No, that's global heating. The storms are coming in. Well, it's all coming from the Gulf of Mexico. It's a dumpster fire right now in the Gulf of Mexico. It's so hot, and Florida is surrounded by the Gulf Stream, which is the ocean current that empties the Gulf of Mexico. So they're getting it from all sides. And right now in the Gulf of Mexico, there are 2 tropical depressions that the meteorologists are hopping from one foot to the other with anxiety, watching. And here's the model for how that shit show goes. There was a tropical depression off the western coast of Mexico near Acapulco. And it was just a tropical depression. Maybe it would become a tropical storm and come ashore, and it'll rain. And everyone's going to get excited about the rain. And maybe they'd have 35, 40-mile-an-hour winds. It was a meteorological event, but it was not a big deal. In 6 hours, that maybe it will be a tropical storm spun up to a Category 4 hurricane, came ashore, and just blew that place apart. Blew it away. Blew it to rat shit. And I still don't know what they're doing in Acapulco. I bet they're done. I bet they're fucking washed up. They're finished. No one's going to go in there and spend any money on that place. Maybe they will. Maybe they will. Eventually, they're not going to. And now there's 2 of those. Oh, well, they're just harmless tropical depressions spinning up in the Gulf of Mexico on the east side of Mexico, near Texas, in fact. And the meteorologists, they can't talk about those things enough. Oh boy, you better watch out. This could be a real shit show. And they're thinking what I'm thinking. Oh yeah, these could spin up, become Category 4 hurricanes, just like they did in Acapulco, and run roughshod up and down the Gulf Coast. Now we're in Texas. Now we're in Louisiana. What else can we fuck up? 2 of them, side by each. Harmless at the moment. Could be nothing. Except Acapulco. So I don't know. And they don't know. Conditions like this have never existed before. And what they'll say is, well, if upper atmosphere conditions are not conducive to a hurricane formation, then we won't get hurricanes out of these. Well, that's not very reassuring, is it? We might not get a hurricane out of these. It might not be a Category 4. Can you do any better than that? No? Why? What's wrong? What's happened? Oh, that's right. We're in global heating now. We don't know what the fuck we're doing because we don't. And as I alluded to at the end of my last video, this process grinds on itself. The people who become refugees through no fault of their own, they move into other places. And when they move, they bring their problems. Of course, just being humans, having nothing, that's a problem. We don't want to say, hey, you're a poor person. You're homeless. You're a problem. We don't want to, paint people with a broad brush, but they are a problem. Their life has been destroyed. You just have to admit it. Where are you from? I'm from Southern Florida. Oh man, they've been having a hard time. Oh yeah, that's why I'm here. And you're having that conversation with them in Minnesota, and they're living on the street out of a shopping cart. Oh yeah, I'm from Southern Florida. Whoa, that didn't really work out, did it? No, it didn't. I'm going to get another loan on my house, and since I live in this area that floods, 1,000-year floods in 2 years running. Who knew, right? That wasn't on the plot description. That wasn't in the real estate walkthrough. Oh yeah, this place floods twice a year, every other year. That they didn't explain that to me when I was buying the house. Well, because they didn't know, because it never happened before. Now it's happening all the fucking time. These people are done. They're done. I'm telling you, they're done. And some of them will end up in Minnesota homeless. And they're refugees, and they bring their problems with them. It's not their fault. They're not bad people. They're just blown apart. They're just damaged people. And they bring their homelessness, and they bring their moneylessness, and they bring their joblessness, and of course they're sad and they're bitter, and they feel betrayed. And why didn't someone tell me I couldn't live here? Why didn't someone tell me it was unsafe to live in the southern part of Florida? Well, Ron DeSantis isn't going to tell you that. He's going to let you figure that shit out on your own. Yes, good luck. Look up climate change. Oh, by the way, if you look up climate change, that's not going to help you understand your situation at all. Because climate change is not your fucking problem. Your fucking problem is global heating. That's what you need to be worried about. Heat. What does heat do? Well, if you're an Earth system scientist, you know exactly what heat does. Kills you. That kind of energy? Oh, let's see. Let's go through the list, shall we? Let's see. We get tropical storms, hurricanes. Yes. And then we get severe weather, hailstones so big we have to make a new category. Now they're DVD sized. And we have tornadoes stacked up like rail cars, one right after the other. I've seen it in the radar images, 4 at a time, one right behind the other. And what else we have here? Oh, yes, of course, heat domes. We just made that word up, heat dome. It just means it gets motherfucking hot, okay? And what else do we have here, okay? Yeah, global heating. All that's caused by global heating. Tornadoes can't cause global heating. Yeah, shut up, pinhead. Shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear anything you have to say. Global heating can't cause tornadoes. Global heating can make hurricanes like you can't even imagine. They're adding a category 6. That's a recent thing. They didn't start out with 5 categories, wondering if they should add a 6th. They started with 5 categories, and they figured you're hardly ever going to reach 5. So anything above that, I guess we all die. And now they're talking about a category 6. And out there in theoretical land, shit gets so crazy, there's going to be a category 7. And I've already made some conversation here on this channel about something called a hypercane. Hypercanes just don't know when to quit. They don't know when to quit. And that, of course, that's a theoretical. You can look it up on Wikipedia, hypercane, first 3 words in the hypercane description. A theoretical model of, okay? Theoretical, my ass. Category 6 was supposed to be theoretical. Not anymore. Category 6 is a thing. So it was category 7 before too long. Oh, but it's all hypothetical. I know it ain't global heating. Global heating, category 7 is out there somewhere. Not too far off. What, maybe a decade, right? We start talking about category 7 hurricanes. After we've had, 5 years of category 6s on a regular basis, we start talking about category 7 because we have to have, some kind of a cap on this bullshit. We can't ever have everything be a really strong out, off the chart category 5. That doesn't tell us much. Oh, by the way, in the UK, England, they started naming their storms. They have storms that come ashore. They're not really hurricanes because they're so far in the North Atlantic that they really can't be hurricanes. This is meteorology bullshit, right? Well, that was a terrible storm, but that can't be a hurricane. We're too far from the tropics. Well, if it walks like a hurricane and quacks like a hurricane, why the fuck can't it be a hurricane? Just let it be a hurricane. Just call it that. But they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't want to call it a hurricane because they're not far enough south to have tropical cyclones or extratropical cyclones, which sometimes they're called hurricanes because they're in the North Atlantic. So what is it? Well, they don't know. It's just severe storms. They have winds like a hurricane, and the winds go around in a circle like a hurricane, and it rains like a hurricane, and all this other kind of stuff. But they did compromise. They won't call them hurricanes, but they will name them. They'll name them like we do with hurricanes. So it's going around, high winds, lots of rain, and now we named it, but it's still not a hurricane. Fine. Do whatever you have to do. That was controversial. Naming the storms. People didn't want that. Why are you naming storms now? Well, because we're having so many of them, we need to be able to talk about them. Well, do you think we're having a lot of them? Yeah. You want some data? Here's a couple of spreadsheets for you. Just look at these. Well, yeah, but that's not real science. That's just you deciding one day to name them. It must be a, could it be a conspiracy? You're going to start naming storms. Why would you name storms? To make us afraid? Like they name storms, in the United States, hurricanes and things get named, and you want us to be afraid? Could it be a conspiracy to control us with fear? No, it's the fucking weather, pinhead. Yeah, we're not going to call them hurricanes, but they're hurricanes. And so we're going to start naming them. Sit down, shut up, chill out. Yeah, this is your reality. You don't like it? Go fuck yourself. I mean, that's what they should be telling these pinheads. No, it's not a conspiracy. It's just getting real. That's all. It's just getting real. And they had so many storms back to back. So many storms back to back. Named storms. I think they got, it was like 9 or 10 of them a week apart. And it got to, there were so many storms a week apart. You couldn't even tell in the news because my wife and I, we kind of know what's going on. And so we'll actually say, oh, I heard there was another storm in the UK. Which name are they up to now? So you go on YouTube and you go look at the news broadcast in the UK. And sure enough, they're up to E. Now they're up to F. Now they're up to G. Now they're up to H. Okay. And if you didn't know that was happening, you wouldn't even know to go check. They were having named storms approximately equivalent to hurricanes every week. Are you even kidding me? That was last year. It was last year. Oh, watch this. Last year, for the first time, I noticed some countries were naming their heat waves. Well, that's a conspiracy. You're trying to rule us with fear. You're going to name the heat waves, and then you can talk about them for weeks afterward. You can say this named heat wave killed 1,200 people, and the next named heat wave killed 800 people, and now there's 2,000 people dead. And if I wasn't paying attention, I'd think there was 1,200 or maybe 800, but not 2,000. And now we see what you're doing. You're naming the heat waves because you want to rule us with fear. It's a conspiracy. You're trying to make us afraid. And if you can make us afraid enough, then you'll give yourself regulatory powers to pass rules about carbon emissions and put carbon taxes on things because you're communists and you want to destroy my freedoms. No, that's not what we're doing. We're just talking about science. Yeah, you're having so many, horrendous storms. We have to name them so we can talk about them in the future. So we can say this named storm killed this many people, that named storm killed this many people. And now between the 6 or 8 of them or 10 of them, this is how many people we lost in all the named storms this year in the UK. Yeah, they want to be able to talk about it because it's newsworthy. It's global heating. It's killing people, destroying things. And the southern part of Florida, the southern third of Florida, if not the southern half, is rapidly becoming uninhabitable. And I woke up this morning and the second thought that poured into my head was, we're done. We're done. Well, that's a thing. Being done. 0. The distance to the doneness is 0. No distance. We've arrived. What am I supposed to do with this? I'm asking you, what should I do with this? What? Go to the comments. Tell me what I'm supposed to do. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. I've got 50 subscribers. Yay, me. What should we talk about? You need to know. You need to know. Like in the movie, Don't Look Up. It just doesn't change your situation. That people are going to die because of this. That people are going to become refugees. They're going to lose everything. They're going to lose their jobs, their families, and their lives. You need to know. I think you need to know. Yeah, you're done. You need to know. There's a couple of reasons why you need to know. 1, And knowledge, they say knowledge is power. That's not true. Knowledge is armor. If you know what's coming, you're harder to frighten with the knowledge that something is coming. You know. And you can go through all the stages of grief, and you can talk to your friends and family, and you can all figure this out, and you can say, yeah, it's coming. Let's be together. Let's face it together. And we're stronger together. So we've got that going for us. And you rally yourselves around the fact that it's coming, and you're done. And what is done? Well, your job is done. Maybe your community is done. Your house is done. You got 6 inches of water in the floor again. All right. So certain things are done. Your job is done. And eventually, you're not going to be the only one who's done. Everybody's going to be done. When enough people have to leave Florida to, just to find food, clothing, and shelter, start over, those are people who are going into communities that are really not set up to accommodate them. You think you've got refugees coming in across the border. These are refugees within the border of your country. They are citizens. They have a right to save themselves by being here. You can't just send them to Mexico because they're refugees. They're us. They are we. We are them. We are all of us, potentially, climate refugees. When the climate kicks our ass. Every one of us could be. And if you're watching this and you're anywhere in the U.S. Southeast, you better start figuring your shit out because you're done. And there's going to be people, in the next week that are going to die of the heat. Could they have saved themselves if they knew the heat was coming and it's real and it's not some dark conspiracy by NASA or whatever these people are even thinking? A conspiracy? It's weather. It's fucking physics. I mean, conspiracy, stick your head outdoor. Look at a thermometer. What do you mean it's a conspiracy? You're arguing with thermometers. And, if they just accepted that this was coming for them, maybe they could have saved themselves. Now, looking at the long term of this, and there is a long term there. See my previous 3 videos, certainly the most recent, part 3. There's a long term here. It's going to take years and probably decades, maybe 1 decade. So for most of us and our planning, several years to a decade is long term, right? Maybe if you're 10 years old, 10 years is not, I don't know. People have different perceptions of time. So you've got a few years to think about this. You've got a few years to recognize what's happening to you. You've got a few years to circle around with your neighbors and your family and your coworkers or wherever you got. You got a few years to wrap your head around this. You got a few years. But pretty soon, after that time, maybe 5 years from now, everybody's going to have a decision to make. And the decision you're going to have to make will fall into 2 broad categories. Where do I have to run to? And then for the people on the other end of that, how are we going to deal with these people? 2 different groups of people have to make this decision. The refugees are going to be asking themselves, do we get out now? Where do we go? How do we get there? Who's going to welcome us? Do we have family there? Do we have church members or something who could take us in? We have to get out of here. We're going to die. We can't stay here. I don't care what Ron DeSantis signed into law. We're being murdered down here. We got to get the fuck out of here. Figure that out. That's one kind of thought you're going to have. And then there's a whole other group of people on the other end of that pipeline who are thinking, how are we going to take these people in? Do we want to take these people in? Are we going to meet them at the edge of town with shotguns? What are we going to do? Are we going to open up our houses to them? Are we going to let them in? Because they're not going to be people that made bad lifestyle choices. So now they're addicted to heroin or opiates or something, right? And they made bad choices. So let them live out there in the gutter and we'll just walk around them like they don't matter because they're losers. And they, the big L and, yeah. No, they're just going to be Floridians and people from Mississippi and Louisiana and Texas who just had to run. They just had to run. That was their decision. They broke and ran. They just ran. 8 inches of water in their house again, and they just pack up the kids and the dog and they just run. They just go head north. It's like the Dust Bowl, the Grapes of Wrath all over again. They have no destination in mind in particular. They've got a couple $1,000s in cash. They emptied out their bank account and they have enough money for gas to get them into the north, somewhere away from this shit show. Get me out of here. We got to go. Leave the keys in the front door lock. Anybody wants the house can have it. I'm done. What are you going to do with these people? And if you're one of those people, you better start thinking about how the hell you're going to finesse this. When do you leave? When do you run away? Where do you go? And when these people show up in your community, what are you going to do with them? You're going to have to make that decision. And the answer could be simple. You open the front door. You let them in. It could be simple as that. Just let them in. Whatever. Can't have you people out here. You're from Florida. Yeah, I heard what happened down there. It's a goddamn shame. And where are you staying? How are you surviving? Kids look terrified. What's going on in your life right now? You got nothing. You got no place. You got no plan. You had enough money to buy the gas, ironically enough, to get yourself this far, and now that's your car across the street ran out of gas, and you got nothing. And you're just sitting here on the curb? Yeah. Now you have a decision to make. And I could say at this point, I could cop out and I could say, oh, well, you don't have to do anything for them. They made bad lifestyle choices. You could say that. Or I could tell you, we'll bring them in. Yeah, okay, so maybe it's going to be, could be crowded in your house. So what? We're all responsible for some part of global heating. For every carbon atom that got emitted into the atmosphere from burning fossil fuels has somebody's name on it. And I guarantee you, some of those have your name on it. You contributed to that. Did you cause the floods in Florida? No. Did you cause the tornadoes in Iowa? No, we didn't cause it. But every atom of CO2, carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere right now has somebody's name on it. And there's a bunch of them up there that have your name on it. That's your part. And so as a consequence, because you played the game, now you got to win the prize. Now you have some responsibility for these people. Now, that's not a terrible thing. That's not a terrible thing. We need to be closer. We need to be more involved in each other's lives. This whole nuclear family thing was always a dumpster fire. Always. I mean, that's why we have people seeking therapy all the time, and children 12 years old in therapy. There's just not enough people around. We need more people in our lives. We need more teachers in schools. We need more nurses and doctors in hospitals. We just need more people in our lives. Everywhere that there's a person in your life, there should be 2 or 10. If you're a kid, you should be surrounded by adults. And maybe they should be family members. But if they're not, they should be really nice people who care about you. And you skin your little knee, and there should be someone right there to scoop you up and kiss you on the cheek and sit you down and put something on your knee and make you feel better and send you right back out there to play some more. All right? That's how it should be for everybody. And we all fall down and skin our knees. Adults do it. Elders do it. Children do it. Teenagers do it. We're always looking for someone's lap to sit on because we just skinned our knee. And when there's nobody around, well, then that, you just get a little darker and you get a little more withdrawn from life, and you start having dark thoughts about yourself because obviously nobody loves you, and whatever. We just need more people. So when people are sitting on the curb out in front of your house, you open the door and you say, hey, you people, you come in here. Come in here. Can't have you looking like that out there. Come inside here. Let's have a talk. That's what you have to do. That's your job. Now, that global heating, yay, we're all going to die. And the ones that don't die need to find a new home. at your job. Or your other job, if you're in South Florida, you got to figure out how you're going to get out of here. When you're going to make that decision, when you're going to jump. Because you're going to have to get out. They're done down there. They're done. Probably all the Gulf states, even including Texas. There's huge parts of their population that are done now. They're just done. I don't know how else to say it. Do I need to have long, flowery sentences describing how fucked they are? Global heating is coming for everybody. And the sooner the people figure that out, the quicker they can understand which of those two categories are they in. The people that got to get out or the people that got to take them in. Because that's your two options. You're gonna have to be making one of those decisions. Who are you? Where do you fall in there? Start evaluating your life. Are you going to take people in, or are you going to be one of those people sitting out on the curb? Because everybody's going to fall into one of those two categories. Everybody's going to be one of those two categories. You think you're privileged and you're not going to be one of those two? Yes, you are going to be one of those two categories. Either you're going to be running away to get away from it, or you're going to be letting somebody into your house who's running away to get away from it. And that's just within the United States of America, where we're a big country, right? We have a lot of territory. It's easy for us to be generating huge refugee crises over in this corner of the country, and all those people fleeing to another part of the country to be taken in. We're so big we can do that. Other countries, they're small enough that when something impacts their country, the whole country's done. And now they're streaming across borders into other countries, whole other countries, don't even speak the same language, don't have the same religion, don't eat the same food, don't worship the same idols and gods. Whole nations are going to empty. And of course that, as the Republicans do it now here in the U.S., you call that an invasion. That's an invasion. Because you want that to sound like an act of war. It's not an act of war, you pinhead. These are refugees. Their human habitat has been destroyed. They have no recourse. They got to get out. They got to get out. Now, if they were in southern Florida and they had to get out, would you call that an invasion? When all these people start showing up in other southern states like Georgia or Tennessee or Kentucky, it's an invasion of Floridians. Those dirty Floridians with their dirty secrets, their dirty habits. No, you're not going to say that. Now, if it's Pakistanis, you will, but you shouldn't. Just open the door. Hey, who are you? Where'd you come from? What's your story? Get your car across the street. You're from Pakistan? Man, that's a long ways away, but I heard about what happened down there. It got hot, didn't it? And you're alive. Oh, lucky you. So you had money. You got out. You got on a plane. You came here. You rented this car, whatever. And now you're sitting on the curb. You don't know what to do. All right. Let's figure this out together. Why don't you and the kids come in the house here? And we've got cold water and we've got some food and you come in here, we'll figure this out. And over the next few days or a few weeks or a few months, we'll find a situation for you. And then if you don't find a situation for them, then they're yours. And that's how this works, people. It doesn't work another way. Stop thinking that this isn't your problem. You're either fleeing a dumpster fire or you're taking people in who are fleeing a dumpster fire. That's how this works. It doesn't work another way. Get that into your head. Village life begins with one house opening the door and inviting strangers in. And after a little while, it's just a couple of days, folks, after a week, they're not strangers anymore. And now you are two families living under one roof. And there'll be some challenges and you'll figure it out. And if they're people from a foreign country, you'll learn some of their language and you'll eat some of their food and they'll show you how to cook different things. And, cultural exchange, not a bad thing. And pretty soon it's like one big extended family. And when the house next door does that and the house over here does that, and pretty soon there's 6 families living in 3 houses or 7 or 8 living in 3 houses. Hey, that's the makings of a village. Knock down the fences in the backyards and get everybody in the backyard, and we're going to grow food, and we're going to till the soil, and we're going to bring in a goat, and we're going to bring in a pig. And and now you're a village. This is what we need. We need to figure this shit out. Village life. What is it? What does it look like now? They're not going to tell us how to do this. Instead, they're going to use propaganda, most likely right-wing propaganda, to make you afraid of the people whose lives were blown to rat shit. They're going to plant seeds of dark conspiracy and suspicion. And these are ferners, ferners, like from southern Florida, fern, or maybe they're from Pakistani. They're Pakistani ferners. They're evil. They don't speak your language. They probably don't like your religion, and they're just going to be foreign. And you know what that means. Foreigners. Yeah, I know what it means. It means you get to learn some shit. You need to learn about how life is in another country. And one thing you're going to have to deal with is what part of their country blew up? What part of their civilization, their human habitat, got blown to rat shit? How'd that happen? And why are they here? And it doesn't matter. You have to take them in. That's your job. You are one of two categories. You're either running from a shit show or you're responding to a shit show. That's it. We're all in those two categories now. Everybody's either running away or opening up their doors. And anything short of running away is death. Now watch this. Anything short of opening your door and bringing them in is also death. Because any other response alienates those people. And they become desperate. And they don't look at you as if you're part of their survival strategy. They look at you as a barrier to survival because you're not sharing. And everybody is capable of doing that. Every single person. That guy in Florida whose house got flooded 2 years in a row, they're either going to have to fix him or he's going to become the enemy because he doesn't understand why he has to suffer. The wealthiest nation on earth, the most powerful nation on earth, the greatest democracy that this planet has ever known, the greatest everything that this planet has ever known is the United States of America. We can take everybody in. We could probably literally take everybody in who becomes a climate refugee. And we could become better for that. I don't know how to tell you this. You could become better for that. You become a better person. Is there anything wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. Just become a better person. Open up to the fact that having more people in your life is a good thing. It's a good thing. Not a bad thing. Yeah, I know capitalism keeps telling you have to have your own home and your own car and your own career and your own 401k and your own trip to Disneyland and your own whatever. And everyone on the freeway is driving alone, and everyone at the bar is drinking alone. And it's all this aloneness and all this apartness, and get your own money and spend your own money and live your own life and have your own decisions and don't be reliant on anybody. No, that's not how it is. You need people in your life, maybe even lots of people. You need to be surrounded by people, so many people that you can't escape. You're everywhere you look, there's a person that knows you and that you know every time you look. You going down the road, you bump into people. Hi, how you doing? It's great to see you. Bump, bump, bump. These are all your people. Hundreds of them. Many hundreds of them. That's how it's supposed to be. And we call that village life. And we're going to have to build village life. And we're going to build it one family at a time. Bring the people into your house. Your neighbors are doing the same thing. And then you knock down your fences and you combine your real estate. And you're planting seeds and you're growing, and the children are running around in the backyard being little wild animals. And, you figure it out. You reinvent village life. You have to do that now. We have to do that now. It's the only thing standing between us and extinction. You're going to have to let people in, get them off the streets, fix them, cure them, put them to work. People in the yard, gardening, planting seeds, tending the crops. managing the animals, managing the children, looking after the elders. That's what we have to do now. We have to do that now. We have to do that now. That's the work of the moment. We have to do that now. Now, soon, tomorrow. People's lives are being destroyed. Civilization is soon to follow. And then it's going to be just cannibalism, I guess. When there's nothing to eat and there's no one making food, and the only food is that person sitting on the curb out in front of your house. Yeah, okay, I guess we're going to have to do that, or we can do something else. Recreate village life. More people, more purpose. Do it. Do things. Fix yourself. And if you're in a bad situation, get out. Get out. And you'll know when you're in a bad situation when you're just being surrounded by just nothing but destruction. Tornadoes last week and a heat dome this week, and your cousin in Florida has been flooded out of their house 2 years in a row. Get out. Call your cousin in Florida. Tell him, listen, get out of there. Come up here. We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. You got money, you got the car, put gas in the car, get yourself up here. We'll figure it out. Reach out to people. Open up your life to people. We need more people. Every village has a lot of people, and we need to be aiming for village life. It's right over there. It's just a little way off of this path you've been on your entire existence. Just a little way off this path. It's just right over there. You see? It's just you don't have to be alone, and you can share, and you're going to have to, because that's village life. It's just right over there. It's just a little diversion in how we think and how we do. And then you figure out how to work with people. And villages are supposed to be relatively self-contained. And that means food, clothing, and shelter. You got it all. You make sure you handle all that stuff. And part of that is making sure you've got potable water and that you've got sanitary treatment, sewer outflows. And if you don't have that anymore, then you have to dig a hole in the ground and put up a little wooden shed over it. And that's where you relieve yourself. And then you're doing gardening, and you've got chickens, and you've got whatever else you have to have, and you've got all these people helping you. And someone provided the dirt. That's the homeowner. Someone provided the dirt, and everyone provides the labor. And that's what we have to do now. We have to do this. We have to do this. We have to do this. You don't have too many choices now, people. Either you got to run for your life, or you got to take somebody in who's running for their life. And you have to very quickly figure out which of those categories you're in. Oh, and by the way, there's always a chance you're in both. There's going to be a lot of people find themselves in both categories who are surrounded by disaster, and they got to get out. But there are other people in a bigger disaster who need somewhere to go. And so you end up opening your house, and you bring people in, and you take care of them. And basically you love them. Okay. Is that so much to ask? Yeah, you got to love them. Dig deep. Okay? I'm sure it's in there somewhere. Dig deep and let me know what you find. Okay. You got to bring them in. You got to love them like human beings. You want them to be okay. And if they're okay, you might be okay. And then the next shoe to drop is, actually, none of us are okay. We have to leave. But now it's not just you against the world. Now you've got a collection of people, and you can do more together even when you're on the run. Lots of people are going to be running from global heating. And lots of people who take those people in, it'll be their turn a few years later to run from global heating. Where are we going to go? I'm not exactly sure. Well, you have to find places that aren't suffering from global heating as much, I guess. So thank you for 50 subs. I'm doing this for you guys. Hey, maybe I'll do another one when we get to 100. Spread the word. I need warm fuzzies just like everybody else does. Anyway, think about your situation. Get ready to go, or to open the doors. I think that's just going to be the requirements going forward. And eventually, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when civilization collapses all around us, then you won't be alone. I mean, that's the objective. That should be your objective. When civilization finally collapses due to global heating and we just can't figure it out anymore, then you'll be surrounded by people with a like mind. And you'll be looking at it's done. Civilization's gone. It's just been too much of a shit show. It's gone. What do we do now? And the answer should be, well, we just do what we've been doing. We've been living as a village. We all get along. We've solved all kinds of problems up to now. We've all learned how to get along. We're raising each other's children. We've helped with each other with food production. We've pooled our resources and we've pooled our talents. And we've got a nice thing going on here. Why would we change that? So don't. You don't have to at that point. That's where you want to be. You don't want to be out on the curb by yourself. You want to be part of something bigger than you, bigger than a bunch of people. It's called a village. It starts by opening your doors when those people are being run out of their part of the world, bringing them in and thinking to yourself, all right, we're on our way. We're on our way to a solution. We're going to be a village. It's not the worst thing that could happen. Well, trust me, it's not the worst thing that can happen to you.